Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nectarean Ocean of the Holy Name. 3 ways of chanting. According to Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are 3 ways of chanting with different effects. First, Manasa, chanting in the mind. Second, Upamsa, soft chanting that only the chanter himself can hear it. An example is the chanting of the Japamala. Srila Prabhupada explained why it is preferable to chant in the Upamsa style. It is easier to concentrate. At the present moment, the mind is always disturbed, full of anxieties. You cannot concentrate. Therefore, this process, chanting Hare Krishna, it is forcibly. When you chant loudly, at least you hear Krishna. Your mind is immediately turned to Krishna. So that is meditation, because after all, meditation means you have to concentrate on the Supreme. So when you hear Krishna, the name, you immediately remember the person Krishna. And there is no difference between his name and the person. So immediately you associate with Krishna forcibly. Even you don't like, I will chant Krishna. You'll be forced to associate. You will chant Krishna. I'll be forced to associate. This is going on. One devotee is forcing another devotee to remember Krishna. And what he will do by meditation, he will think of his office or his home or his dog or his cat. That's all. Lecture from 11-10-68. The Hari Bhakti Vilas confirms, although capable of destroying all sins, the remembrance of Lord Vishnu is achieved only with extraordinary effort. On the other hand, one may perform Krishna Kirtana simply by moving his lips, and thus this process is superior. Hari Bhakti Vilas 11.453. Then third one is Bachika. Loud chanting, which everybody can hear, for example, in a kirtana. This chanting is 100 times more powerful than chanting Upamsa because it can be heard by others. It is known that Haridas Thakura, the great teacher of the holy name, chanted 192 rounds every day. He chanted 64 rounds loudly, 64 quietly, and the last 64 rounds in the mind. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, we find the following passage. Local Smarta Brahmanas criticized Haridas Thakura for loudly chanting japa. They said, Haridas, why must you chant so loudly? The actual injunction is to chant softly in your mind. Which scripture instructs you to chant loudly? Srila Haridas humbly replied, the principal effect of chanting the name of God loudly is that it purifies the soul 1,000 times more than any other form of worship. Nowhere in the scriptures is loud chanting of the holy name condemned. On the contrary, there are excellent benefits which have been described in many places. In one scripture, it says, loud chanting of Lord Krishna's name is 1,000 times better than silent chanting. Why is the result of loud chanting magnified 1,000 times over any other process? Demanded a W.S. Brahmana. Haridas replied, O Brahmana, please try to understand that when any living entity, be it man, bird, or beast, hears the holy name chanted by a pure devotee, he goes directly to Vaikuntha after leaving this body. Srimad Bhagavatam says, O Achyuta, Anyone who chants your name purifies all who hear his chanting as well as himself. One who chants the holy name to himself liberates himself only. But one who chants the Lord's name loudly liberates anyone who hears him. The sound of the Lord's name is beneficial for everyone. Haridas Thakura continued, therefore, all scriptures asserted that loud chanting of the Lord's name is 1,000 times more effective than any other religious process. Prahlad Maharaj says in the Naradiya Purana, compared to the person who is attached to chanting japa, the person who performs loud chanting of the holy name of Sri Hari is 100 times better. One who chants japa liberates only himself, but one who chants loudly liberates himself and any other living entity who hears him. Chaitanya Bhagavata, chapter 17. Srila Jiva Goswami writes in his Krama Sandarbha, the names of gods should be chanted loudly, and Baladev Vidyabhushan explains in the Stavamala Vibhushana Bhashya, if one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra loudly, Krishna personally dances on the tongue. The holy name is so powerful that on the advanced stage, it elevates one far beyond the material platform. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakura, was so weak in his old days that he could no longer walk and had to be carried in a basket. But when he felt spiritual ecstasy in Kirtan, he jumped out of his basket and enthusiastically danced and jumped around. This example shows how the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, especially the loud chanting in the assembly of other Vaishnavas, can raise one to a stage beyond the physical level. Whenever devotees meet, they chant the holy name together. This is their life and their greatest joy. I would like to stop here. So, what we learned today is different types of chanting. It's Manasa, Apamsa, and Bachika. Manasa is like chanting in the mind, then chanting slowly so that only the person who chants, he or she can hear. That is like what we usually do during our japa. And then last is Bachika, that is loud chanting, which is usually the kirtan. And it is like we saw so many references from different scriptures and examples of Haridas Thakura, how he used to do 192 rounds every day. First 64 he does in his mind, and 64 like the japa, and then last 64 like very loud chanting. And like when anyone asks him why it is like why you are doing loud chanting, he explains how loud chanting is beneficial, like it is 1,000 times better than the silent chanting, because we see example of Haridas Thakur and Prahlad Maharaj also, that when someone does loud chanting, it's not only the person who hears, but anyone is like around the person who chants, like even not even like human beings, like birds, beasts, any other living entity, when they hear the holy name of the Lord from a pure devotee, they also get liberated or go to Vaikuntha. And yeah, so when we do like soft chanting only, we purify ourselves, but loud chanting is beneficial for everyone. So loud chanting is 1,000 times better than the soft chanting. And it's also towards the end, it's also mentioned that when we chant in the beginning, like our mind is not purified, but gradually, like how people sometimes like they argue. I was just listening one lecture from Srila Prabhupada, like what is the difference between just regular meditation and then mantra meditation that our when we chant the holy name. Meditation, okay, it's definitely calms the mind, but the impurities they just settle down at the bottom. Like when again some external factor acts, the impurities again come to the mind. But when we chant the holy name, when we meditate upon the holy name of the Lord, like the mind, it not only it calms down, but the cleansing process also goes on. So in the beginning our mind is not purified, it's disturbed full with so many anxieties, but once we force it to concentrate on the holy name, like the in the holy name there is name of Krishna, so we have to concentrate or meditate upon Lord Krishna, so gradually the purification process happens. Yeah, that's what my